Everything I built, they're taking it all.
Once that the paperwork is filed, everything becomes ours.
The kid's too trusting. He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. I trusted them with everything, and they're using it to destroy.
48 hours. Then it's in motion.
I never thought the people who gave me life would be the same ones plotting to take everything I'd built. My hands were shaking as I stood frozen in the hallway outside my father's office. The door was cracked open just enough. Inside, I heard my mother's voice, sharp and businesslike in a way I'd never heard before. Once the paperwork is filed, everything becomes ours. He won't even see it coming. My father laughed. Actually laughed. The kid's too trusting. Always has been. He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. A third voice chimed in. Male. Unfamiliar. The conservatorship documents are ready. With Dr. Patterson's medical evaluation, we can have him declared incapable of managing his own affairs. It's all perfectly legal. My chest felt like it was caving in. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to breathe without making a sound. These were my parents. The people I'd bought a car for last year. The people whose mortgage I'd quietly paid off 3 months ago. The people I'd trusted with everything. How long do we have? My mother asked. 48 hours, the lawyer said. After that, we file. Once it's in motion, he won't be able to stop it even if he tries. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family, enjoy the story. I backed away from that door like it was on fire. My mind was racing so fast I could barely think straight. 48 hours. 2 days. They were going to take everything. My business. My grandmother's inheritance. The property. The stocks. $800,000 of assets I'd worked my entire adult life to build and protect. But it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was about the fact that the two people who were supposed to love me more than anyone in this world were actively conspiring to destroy me. To have me declared mentally unfit. To lock me away somewhere while they drained every account I had. I made it to my car before the tears came. Hot. Angry. Betrayed. I sat there in their driveway, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Part of me wanted to march back in there and confront them. Scream at them. Demand to know how they could do this. But something stopped me. Some survival instinct I didn't even know I had. If they knew I'd heard, they might accelerate their timeline. They might file tonight. I needed time. I needed to think. I needed to figure out how to protect myself from the people who were supposed to protect me. I started the engine and pulled out of that driveway. In my rearview mirror, I could see the house I'd grown up in. The house where I'd had birthday parties and family dinners. The house where my mother used to braid my hair and my father taught me to ride a bike. That house was a lie. And I had 48 hours to save myself from the people living inside it. The drive home was a blur. I kept replaying their words in my head, trying to make sense of something that made no sense at all. My name is Flynn. I'm 28 years old. I built a digital marketing company from nothing when I was 23. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. Stable. Successful in ways my parents never were. Maybe that was the problem. I pulled into my apartment complex and just sat there in the parking lot, phone in my hand. Who do you call when your parents are trying to steal your life? The police? A lawyer? I didn't even know where to start. My grandmother Nora died 8 months ago. She left me everything. Not because my parents weren't in the picture, but because she knew I'd use it wisely. She'd always believed in me in ways they never did. The inheritance included her house in Portland, a stock portfolio she'd been building for 40 years, and some savings bonds. Total value, about $800,000. I'd never seen that kind of money before. Never expected to. I cried for a week when she died, and when the lawyer read the will, I cried again. Not because of the money, but because even in death, she was still taking care of me. My parents had been weird about it from the start. My mother kept asking invasive questions about the accounts. My father suggested I add them as co-owners, just in case something happens to you. At the time, I thought they were being protective. Parental. Looking out for me. I was so stupid. 3 weeks ago, they'd invited me to dinner. Nice dinner. Steaks. Wine. My mother made her famous chocolate cake. They were so sweet, so attentive. My father pulled out these official-looking documents and said they'd consulted with an estate planner. "It's just smart planning, Flynn," he'd said, sliding the papers across the table. "If anything happens to you, this makes sure everything is handled properly. You add us to the property deed, we help manage things. It's what families do." I'd actually picked up the pen, actually considered signing, but something in my gut twisted. I told them I wanted my own lawyer to review it first. My mother's smile had frozen on her face. My father's jaw had tightened. "Don't you trust us?" my mother had asked, her voice dripping with hurt. That question haunted me now. Don't you trust us? What kind of parents ask their child to trust them while actively planning their financial destruction? I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face. Heard my mother's cold voice saying, "Everything becomes ours." By sunrise, I'd made a list. A detailed, paranoid list of every strange thing that had happened in the last 3 months. The list was longer than I wanted it to be. My brother Garrett showing up at my office unannounced, asking detailed questions about my business structure. How many employees I had. What my profit margins looked like. Whether I had a succession plan. My mother calling my assistant, pretending she needed to update emergency contact information, asking for account numbers and passwords. My father requesting copies of my tax returns, to help me find deductions. The family friend, Dr. Patterson, who'd suddenly started asking me weird questions at a barbecue about my stress levels, my sleep patterns, whether I'd ever felt overwhelmed managing money. I'd brushed it all off as family being family. Annoying, sure, but not malicious. Now every memory looked different. Every conversation felt poisoned. I was supposed to meet them for brunch that Sunday. Just 2 days away. I texted my mother and cancelled, saying I had a work emergency. She responded immediately. "Is everything okay, sweetheart? Do you need help? Your father and I are here for you." I stared at that message until my eyes burned. The concern looked so real. So genuine. If I hadn't heard what I'd heard, I would have believed it completely. That's when I realized how good they were at this. How long they might have been planning it. This wasn't desperation. This was calculated. Methodical. They'd been building toward this for months, maybe longer. I needed help. Professional help. I called my college roommate Beck, who'd gone to law school. We hadn't talked in about a year, but he picked up on the second ring. "Flynn? What's wrong? You sound terrible." I told him everything. The overheard conversation. The inheritance. The conservatorship plan. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end. "Beck. I'm here. I'm just... Jesus, Flynn. This is serious. Like, really serious. If they file for conservatorship with a doctor's evaluation backing them up, even fighting it could bankrupt you in legal fees." My stomach dropped. "So what do I do?" "You need to move fast. Like, today. I'm going to give you the number of someone I trust. Her name is Simone Russo. She specializes in asset protection and elder abuse cases. Call her right now. Don't wait." Elder abuse. The term felt wrong. I wasn't elderly, but I was being abused by my elders, and somehow that made it worse. Simone Russo's office was in downtown Seattle, all glass and steel and intimidating leather furniture. She was maybe 50, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I told her everything. She took notes without interrupting, her expression never changing. When I finished, she set down her pen and looked at me directly. "Flynn, I'm going to be blunt with you. You're in danger. Real danger. Your parents aren't just planning to take your money. They're planning to have you institutionalized. Do you understand what that means?" My throat went dry. Institutionalized. Conservatorship requires proving you're incapable of caring for yourself. That usually means psychiatric evaluation, possible commitment to a facility for observation. They'd have complete control over your medical decisions, your living situation, your freedom. And once you're in the system, getting out is nearly impossible. The room started spinning. I gripped the arms of my chair. How long do I have? She checked her watch. You said you overheard this yesterday afternoon? And they mentioned 48 hours? That gives us maybe 36 hours now. Probably less. What do I do? Simone pulled out a legal pad and started writing. We move everything. Tonight. Every asset you have gets transferred into an irrevocable trust with me as the independent trustee. We sell the inherited property to a third party with a buyback option built in. We move all liquid assets into protected accounts they can't touch. And we get you a psychiatric evaluation from 3 different doctors proving you're of sound mind. Will that stop them? It'll stop them from succeeding. They might still file, but they'll have no case. The assets will be unreachable. You'll have documented proof of mental competency. Their whole plan falls apart. I felt something loosening in my chest. Hope, maybe. Or just relief that someone believed me. There's something else, Simone said, her voice gentler. I want to hire a private investigator. There's more to this story. People don't just wake up one day and decide to destroy their child. There's a reason. Money problems, debts, something. We need to know what we're really dealing with. She made a call right there in front of me. Within an hour, a guy named Marcus showed up. Former FBI. He looked like he could break someone in half, but spoke quietly, kindly. I'll need access to their financial records, social media, phone records if possible, Marcus said. Give me 72 hours. I'll find out what's really going on. We worked through the night. Simone had a whole team. Paralegals, accountants, notaries. By 4 a.m, every asset I owned had been moved, protected, locked down tight. The inherited house was sold to Beck's cousin with a buyback clause. My business was restructured. My bank accounts were emptied and redistributed into trusts. On paper, I owned nothing. In reality, everything was safer than it had ever been. At dawn, Simone walked me to my car. I was exhausted. Wired. Terrified. Go home. Sleep. Let Marcus do his job. In 3 days, we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. I nodded, but sleep felt impossible. As I drove home in the early morning light, my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Haven't heard from you, honey. Getting worried. Let's have dinner tonight? We need to talk about those documents. It's important. My hands started shaking again. They were pushing. They knew their window was closing, even if they didn't know why. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Because in 3 days, I was going to find out just how deep this betrayal really went. Marcus called me on day 2. His voice was tight. Controlled. We need to meet. Now. Not over the phone. I met him at a coffee shop in Belltown. He had a manila folder. Thick. When he sat down across from me, his expression was grim. Flynn, what I'm about to tell you is going to hurt. I need you to prepare yourself. I wasn't prepared. I don't think anyone could be. He opened the folder. The first document was a credit report. My father's name at the top. Red numbers everywhere. Your parents have gambling debts totaling $240,000. Mostly offshore casinos, online poker. The debts are with some very unpleasant people. They've been threatened. Twice. My vision blurred. What? There's more. He slid over another document. They've been researching conservatorship laws for 8 months. Since before your grandmother died. They knew she was leaving everything to you. They'd already started planning how to take it. 8 months. Before Nora even passed. They'd been plotting this while she was still alive. While I was visiting her in hospice, holding her hand, they were planning how to steal her legacy from me. Marcus wasn't done. The doctor, Patterson? He's been paid $15,000. Cash. I have the bank records. He's prepared a psychiatric evaluation declaring you incapable of managing your affairs. It's dated for next week, but it's already written. The diagnosis is already decided. I felt sick. Actually nauseous. And this, Marcus said, pulling out one more document, is a life insurance policy. On you. $500,000. Your parents are the beneficiaries. It was increased 6 months ago. Triple the original amount. The coffee shop went silent. Or maybe my hearing just cut out. I stared at that policy. My name. My life. Their payout. Marcus. My voice cracked. Are they planning to kill me? He hesitated. I don't know. But I know this. People don't take out massive life insurance policies on their children and simultaneously try to have them declared incompetent unless they're planning something very, very bad. I pushed back from the table. Stood up. Sat back down. My legs wouldn't work right. There's one more thing, Marcus said quietly. I found emails. Between your mother and your brother Garrett. Want to know what they're planning to do with the money? I didn't want to know. But I nodded anyway. He pulled out printed emails. I read them with shaking hands. My mother, writing to Garrett, once we have control, we split everything 60-40. You get $400,000 for helping us convince Flynn to sign. Your father and I clear our debts and finally live the life we deserve. The life we earned by raising that ungrateful boy. Ungrateful. The word hit me like a physical blow. I'd paid their mortgage. Bought them cars. Covered medical bills. Helped them over and over again. And I was ungrateful. Garrett's response, he's always been weird about money. Too careful. Too suspicious. We'll need to sell it right. Make him think he's protecting himself by giving us access. They'd been coaching each other. Planning their approach. Practicing their lies. The last email was from 3 weeks ago. The night of that dinner with the chocolate cake and the documents. My mother had written, he almost signed tonight. So close. We'll try again this weekend. Dr. Patterson says he can have the evaluation ready by Monday. Then we file, and it's over. It's over. Like I was a problem to be solved. An obstacle to remove. I looked up at Marcus. His eyes were sad. Sympathetic. What do I do now? I whispered. You have all the evidence you need. We take this to Simone. We decide how hard you want to hit back. I thought about my mother's voice in that hallway. Cold. Calculating. Everything becomes ours. I thought about my father's laugh. The kids too trusting. And I thought about my grandmother, who'd worked her whole life to leave me something beautiful, something safe, only to have her own daughter plot to steal it before her body was even cold in the ground. I want to hit back, I said. I want them to know I know. I want them to face what they've done. Marcus nodded. Then we set a trap. We let them think they're winning. And when they show their cards, we show ours. 3 days later, I texted my parents. Told them I was ready to sign those documents. That I'd been thinking it over and they were right. Family should help family. Could we meet at their house Saturday afternoon? My mother's response was almost instant. Of course, sweetheart. We're so proud of you for being mature about this. See you Saturday. Love you. Love you. 2 words that used to mean everything. Now they just made me want to scream. But I didn't scream. I got ready. Because Saturday afternoon, my parents were going to learn exactly what happens when you underestimate the child you raised to survive. Saturday came too fast and too slow at the same time. I pulled into my parents' driveway at exactly 2 o'clock. Simone was parked 3 houses down with Marcus. Recording everything. My hands were steady now. Cold. Focused. I walked through that front door one last time. My mother hugged me. Actually hugged me. Oh honey, we're so glad you came to your senses. This is what's best for everyone. My father clapped me on the shoulder. Proud of you, son. Takes maturity to accept help. Dr. Patterson was already there, sitting in the living room with a briefcase. He stood when I entered, extending his hand like we were old friends. I didn't shake it. Let's get this over with, I said. My mother's smile flickered. Just for a second. Of course. We have all the paperwork ready. Dr. Patterson just needs to ask you a few questions first. Standard procedure. I sat down. Looked at each of them. My mother perched on the edge of the couch. My father standing behind her. The doctor opening his briefcase. And there, walking in from the kitchen, was Garrett. My brother. The golden child. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. Why is he here? I asked. Family support, my father said smoothly. We're all in this together. That phrase, all in this together, it made my skin crawl. Dr. Patterson cleared his throat. Flynn, I'm going to ask you some questions about your mental state, your ability to make decisions, your stress levels. I know what you're going to ask, I interrupted. I also know you've already written your evaluation, dated it for next week, declared me incapable of managing my own affairs, all before ever speaking to me. The room went silent. Dr. Patterson's face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about, he stammered. I pulled out my phone, held it up. I have bank records showing my parents paid you $15,000. I have emails. I have recordings. I have everything. My mother stood up so fast she knocked over a lamp. You've been spying on us? On your own family? The audacity of that statement almost made me laugh. I was protecting myself. From you. From all of you. My father's face turned red. Angry red. You ungrateful little. Don't. My voice cut through the room like glass. Don't you dare call me ungrateful. I paid your mortgage. I bought you cars. I've given you everything. And you repaid me by trying to have me declared insane so you could steal my inheritance. Garrett stepped forward. Flynn, listen, it's not like that. Shut up. I looked at my brother. Really looked at him. You were promised $400,000. 40%. For helping convince me to sign away my life. How much of it were you going to use to pay off your own debts? Or was it all just going toward that boat you've been wanting? His mouth opened. Closed. No words came out. I stood up. Pulled out a folder. Simone had prepared copies of everything. I dropped it on the coffee table. Gambling debts. $240,000. Threats from loan sharks. 8 months of research into conservatorship laws. A life insurance policy on me that you tripled 6 months ago. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding. You were going to institutionalize me, I said, my voice shaking now. Not with fear. With rage. With grief. You were going to lock me away in some facility, drain my accounts, and then what? Wait for that insurance policy to pay out? Were you hoping I'd have an accident? Get so depressed I'd hurt myself? That's not, we would never, my mother was crying now. Real tears. But I didn't care anymore. I heard you, I said. In this house. In that office. I heard you planning my destruction. Everything becomes ours. He won't even see it coming. Those were your exact words, Mom. She collapsed back onto the couch. My father just stood there, fists clenched. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Every asset I own is gone. Transferred. Protected. You can't touch any of it. I have psychiatric evaluations from 3 different doctors declaring me completely competent. Your whole plan is done. Dr. Patterson grabbed his briefcase and headed for the door. I blocked his path. You're not going anywhere. My lawyer is outside with a police officer. You're being charged with conspiracy to commit fraud. Enjoy your medical license while you still have it. He went pale. Actually swayed on his feet. I turned back to my parents. As for you two, I'm offering you one chance. 1. You sign documents agreeing to complete estrangement. You never contact me again. You tell the extended family exactly what you tried to do. And I won't press charges. You can't do this, my father said. We're your parents. You stopped being my parents the moment you decided I was worth more to you dead than alive. My mother reached for me. Please, Flynn. We made mistakes. We're desperate. The debts, the threats, we didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help. The words exploded out of me. You could have come to me like human beings and asked. I would have helped you. Instead, you tried to destroy me. Garrett finally found his voice. We're family. You can't just walk away from family. I looked at him. This stranger wearing my brother's face. Watch me. Simone knocked on the door. Right on time. She walked in with Marcus and 2 police officers. Dr. Patterson was escorted out in handcuffs. My parents signed every document Simone put in front of them. They had no choice. The alternative was prosecution. Prison. As I walked toward the door for the last time, my mother called out, "Flynn, please. We're still your parents. That has to mean something." I stopped, turned around, and said the words I'd been holding back. "You were my parents. Past tense. Now you're just two people who taught me the most important lesson of my life." "What's that?" my father asked bitterly. "That DNA doesn't make you family. Love does. Loyalty does. And you never had either." The next few weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and sleepless nights. Dr. Patterson lost his medical license. The case made local news. My parents' friends started asking questions. The truth came out in pieces, then all at once. But the hardest part wasn't the legal battles. It was the box. I'd gone back to their house one final time with Marcus to collect a few childhood belongings. My mother and father were staying with Garrett, per the restraining order. The house felt hollow, dead. I found the box in the attic. Old journals. Printed emails going back years. I almost left it there. Almost didn't look. But something made me open it. The first journal entry was from 12 years ago. My mother's handwriting. Neat. Precise. "Flynn got another award at school today. Another scholarship. Another achievement." I smiled and congratulated him, but inside I felt nothing but resentment. He makes everything look so easy. He makes us look like failures. My hands started shaking. I kept reading. Why does he have to be so much better than us? So much smarter? Every time someone praises him, it feels like they're criticizing us. Like they're saying we weren't good enough to produce someone like him on our own. Entry after entry. Year after year. My successes documented like crimes against them. My achievements listed like personal attacks. When I graduated college early, he couldn't even let us enjoy 4 full years of parent pride. Had to rush through it. Had to show off. When I started my business, 23 years old and already running a company. What does that say about his father, who's been working the same job for 30 years? When grandmother Nora left me the inheritance, she always loved him more. Even in death, she chose him over us. Over her own daughter. That money should be ours. We raised him. We deserve it. There were emails between my parents going back 5 years. Planning. Plotting. Not just the conservatorship, but smaller things. Ways to undermine me. Ways to make me doubt myself. Ways to keep me dependent on their approval even as I outgrew their world. One email from my father made me physically ill. If we'd known he'd turn out like this, we should have stopped at Garrett. At least Garrett needs us. I sat in that dusty attic surrounded by evidence of a hatred I'd never seen coming. They hadn't just decided to betray me recently. They'd resented me for years. Maybe always. The worst part was finding my grandmother's letters. Nora had written to my mother multiple times in the year before she died, begging her to let go of her jealousy, warning her that bitterness would destroy their relationship, pleading with her to love me without condition. My mother had never mentioned these letters, had probably hidden them, ignored them. In the last letter, dated 3 weeks before Nora died, my grandmother wrote, "If you cannot love Flynn for who he is, if you cannot celebrate his success without turning it into your failure, then you don't deserve to be in his life. I'm leaving him everything because I know he'll use it with wisdom and grace. 2 things you've forgotten, my daughter." I took that box home. Read every word. Cried until I had nothing left. The betrayal was deeper than money. Deeper than greed. It was a rejection of my entire existence. Marcus found me 3 days later, still sitting on my apartment floor surrounded by papers. He didn't say anything. Just sat down beside me. "They never loved me," I said finally. "Not really. I was just a reminder of everything they weren't." "That's their failure," Marcus said quietly. "Not yours." Are you still watching? I hope this story is resonating with you. If it is, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support means everything. I started therapy the next week. A woman named Dr. Reeves who specialized in family trauma. She didn't sugarcoat anything. Your parents are narcissists, she said bluntly in our third session. They see you as an extension of themselves. When you succeed beyond their capabilities, it threatens their self-image. So they try to tear you down. It's not about you. It's about their inability to handle their own inadequacy. But they're my parents, I said. Aren't parents supposed to want better for their kids? Healthy parents, yes. But not all parents are healthy. Some people have children expecting them to fulfill needs the parents can't fulfill themselves. When the child becomes independent, successful, separate, those parents feel abandoned, betrayed. They lash out. I thought about that life insurance policy. The increased payout. Do you think they would have actually hurt me? Dr. Reeves was quiet for a long moment. I think desperate people do desperate things. Whether they would have gone that far, we'll never know. But the fact that they created the conditions where that was even possible tells you everything you need to know about their capacity for love. 6 months passed. My parents tried to contact me 3 times through third parties. Family friends. Distant cousins. Each time, the message was the same. They were sorry, they wanted to reconcile, they'd changed. Simone advised me to document every attempt and ignore them all. Garrett showed up at my office once. Security escorted him out. But not before he shouted in the lobby, "You destroyed this family. Over money. You're the selfish one." The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew the truth. The hardest moment came when I found out my mother was sick. Pneumonia. Hospitalized. A family friend called me, expected me to rush to her bedside. Expected forgiveness in the face of mortality. I didn't go. I sent flowers. Anonymous. And I stayed home. Dr. Reeves asked me how I felt about that decision. Guilty, I admitted. But also, relieved. Is that awful? It's human, she said. You're allowed to protect yourself. Even from people who are suffering. Especially from people who tried to destroy you. 1 year after that terrible Saturday, I was sitting in a cafe when I saw them. My parents. Older. Smaller somehow. They didn't see me. They were arguing in hushed voices over a bill they clearly couldn't pay. Part of me wanted to walk over. Pay it. Fix it. The old patterns die hard. But I didn't. I watched them struggle and leave, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pain. Just nothing. That's when I knew I was healing. I used part of my inheritance to start a scholarship fund. The Nora Bennett Foundation for first-generation college students. It gave money to kids whose families didn't support their education. Kids who had to choose between family loyalty and personal growth. The first year, we helped 20 students. Their thank you letters made me cry. Good tears this time. One girl wrote, "My parents told me college was a waste. That I was abandoning them. Your scholarship didn't just pay for school. It gave me permission to choose myself. Thank you." I read that letter 100 times. Maybe I couldn't save myself from my parents' hatred. But I could help others escape their own traps. Simone became a friend. Real friend. She invited me to her family's Thanksgiving. I met her kids, her husband, her chaotic, loving, normal family. They argued about politics and burnt turkey and who got the last piece of pie. But underneath it all was love. Real love. The kind that doesn't keep score. Her daughter, maybe 8 years old, asked me at dinner, "Do you have kids?" "No," I said. "Do you want them?" I thought about that. Maybe someday. If I can be better than my parents were. Simone's husband smiled. That's a low bar, from what Simone told me. You'll clear it easy. Marcus helped me track down some of my grandmother's old friends. People who'd known her before she got sick. We had coffee. They told me stories about Nora I'd never heard. Her struggles. Her triumphs. Her fierce love for people who needed defending. She always said you were special, one woman told me. Not because you were smart or successful. Because you were kind. She said kindness was the rarest thing in this world. I thought about my parents. Their cruelty. Their calculated destruction. And I made a choice right then. I wouldn't let their poison turn me bitter. I wouldn't let their hatred teach me to hate. I would be what they couldn't be, someone who loved without condition, someone who gave without expecting return. It wasn't easy. Some days I wanted revenge, wanted to expose them further, ruin them the way they tried to ruin me. But revenge is just another prison. And I'd already escaped one. 3 months ago, I got a letter. From my mother. Forwarded through Simone's office. I almost threw it away unread. But curiosity won. I opened it. Dear Flynn, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that you were right about everything. The resentment. The jealousy. The hatred. It consumed me. It consumed us. We lost our house. Your father and I are separated. Garrett won't speak to us. We have nothing. And we earned this nothing. You were a good son. The best son. We were terrible parents. I'm sorry. Not because I want anything from you. Just because it's true. I'm sorry, Mom. I read it twice. Felt nothing. Then felt sad. Not for me. For her. For the life she wasted on bitterness. For the love she threw away because it came wrapped in someone else's success. I didn't write back. There was nothing to say. Some apologies come too late. Some damage can't be undone. But I kept the letter. As a reminder. Of what I survived. Of what I chose to become despite them. Today, I'm 30 years old. 2 years removed from the worst betrayal of my life. And I'm happy. Actually happy. I met someone. Her name is Quinn. She knows everything. I told her on our 3rd date, expecting her to run. Instead, she held my hand and said, "Your past doesn't scare me. Your strength inspires me." We're taking it slow. I'm learning to trust again. It's hard. Every time she does something nice, part of me waits for the other shoe to drop. For the betrayal. For the manipulation. But Quinn is patient. She's teaching me that love doesn't have to hurt. That family can be chosen. That I'm allowed to be loved without earning it. The scholarship fund is thriving. We've helped over 100 students now. Some of them write me letters. Some come to the annual dinner we host. They share their stories. Their struggles. Their triumphs. Last month, a kid named Felix gave a speech. He said, "I thought leaving my toxic family made me selfish. This foundation taught me that self-preservation isn't selfish. It's survival. Thank you for showing me it's okay to choose myself." I cried through that whole speech. Because Felix was me 2 years ago. And now he's free. I still think about my parents sometimes. Wonder if they're okay. If they've changed. If they ever really understood what they did. But those thoughts are quieter now. Smaller. They don't control me anymore. Dr. Reeves says I've graduated from therapy. We meet once a month now, just to check in. She says I'm one of her success stories. Someone who survived family destruction and chose healing over hatred. I don't know if that's true. I just know I wake up every day and choose to be kind. Choose to be generous. Choose to love people who deserve it and walk away from people who don't. My grandmother would be proud. I feel her sometimes, in quiet moments. Her voice in my head, "You're doing good, Flynn. You're doing so good." The Nora Bennett Foundation is her legacy. But it's mine too. It's proof that pain can become purpose. That betrayal can become breakthrough. That the worst thing that ever happened to you can become the reason you help someone else survive their worst thing. I don't talk to my family anymore. Probably never will. And that's okay. I've built a new family. Quinn. Simone. Marcus. Dr. Reeves. The scholarship kids. People who chose me. People I chose back. Sometimes people ask if I regret cutting off my parents. If I wish I'd tried harder to reconcile. And my answer is always the same: I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret choosing life over loyalty to people who wanted to destroy me. Love isn't supposed to hurt this much. Family isn't supposed to be survival. And I'm not responsible for fixing people who tried to break me. I'm 30 years old. I have a career I love. A woman who loves me back. A foundation that changes lives. Friends who feel like family. And a future that belongs entirely to me. My parents tried to take everything. Instead, they freed me. And that's the greatest gift they ever gave me, even if they didn't mean to. So if you're watching this and you're trapped in a toxic family situation, hear me, you're allowed to leave. You're allowed to protect yourself. You're allowed to build a life that doesn't include people who hurt you. Blood doesn't make family. Love does. Loyalty does. Respect does. Choose yourself. Protect yourself. Save yourself. Because you're worth saving. Even if the people who were supposed to tell you that never did. Thank you for staying with me through this story. I know it was heavy, raw, real. If it resonated with you, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories matter. Your healing matters. And maybe, just maybe, by sharing our truths, we help someone else find the courage to choose themselves too. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories like this. Stories about survival. About healing. About becoming the person you were always meant to be, even when the people who raised you tried to stop you. This is my story. And I'm still writing it. One choice at a time. One kind act at a time. One day of freedom at a time. And I've never been more grateful to be alive.